Welcome to Late Night Design Show with Pablo Stanley and friends. Tonight, oh no, this is too worse. I knew there was going to be some mistakes. Tonight's guest is Chantal Jandard, product designer at PlanGrid. Gabriel Valdivia, designer at Jigsaw. Yasmine Evjen, design advocate at Google. And that's it. Let's go back to our people. So hold on. Okay, stop. There you go. Hello, guys.
Loved it. It was wonderful. I look forward to checking out tomorrow's guest.
Yasmine, I wish you were wearing that outfit right now.
That's going to be next week. But yeah. Hello, guys. Welcome. Great to have you here. This is the first time we do this. And can you see my camera, by the way? Can you see me now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
We can see but we can see you.
Hi. Look at this. Am I looking sharp or what? Looking good?
Can we just talk about how you kind of set us all up to fail? And you look so excellent. You came with you're so well dressed, and I showed up in a t-shirt and I was not warned about this fair. So
it's all good. You look great. You look great. You look great.
Thank you. Shout out to Edgar for the sound effects. I love it.
Yes, Edgar Chaparro is over here. Edgar, say hi. Edgar Chaparro is helping us with the sound effects and the music. So today we're going to be talking about transitioning to product design, and this is the first show we do on live stream. It's good. I call it the Late Night Design Show, and I wanted to follow loosely the whole format of like a late night. That's why I'm wearing the suit, because I feel like Conan O'Brien here, but for design. It's just really dumb, and I feel really bad just saying that.
You got the hair.
You have the hair. I was going to say the hair lines up.
It needs to be a little bit more orange, and I need to be like a way taller. But yeah, it's great to have you. The idea is to have every week just 3 different guests just get together. It's pretty much just a podcast, but with the whole idea of like the Tonight Show, and talk about different topics. So let's just start just by introducing you, because I put that keynote, but I want to actually you introduce yourselves probably. So let's start with you, Chantal.
Sure, yeah. Well, hi, YouTube. I'm Chantal. I'm a designer at PlanGrid. So we build tech for construction, which is a super complex, super fun industry. Some of the buildings we've worked on is like SF MoMA in San Francisco, Hudson Yards, New York, all sorts of buildings. I actually came to design through psychology. I didn't go to design school, so I can talk a little bit about that later on.
That's great. That's great. And so the topic is going to be perfect. And I sometimes wonder if you're all tricking us into get into PlanGrid. Is it really that fun? Because I hear like, oh, there's going to be grids, and you're going to be talking with construction people, and it's like, that doesn't sound that fun.
Oh,
you all just tricking us?
It is super fun. Yeah, no, the construction industry is, so I worked in a little bit in healthcare, a lot of time in education, did like this much in financial, and it's the most tricky industry I've ever designed for. So in terms of like complexity, and if you really love getting like meaty problems, it's super fun. It's also really fun just seeing buildings that you helped with in this much way, go up. And people in the construction industry are just so cool and so smart. I've learned so much more about how buildings happen now. It's a good time. It's a good time.
Great. And you're hiring. I'm hearing too. So,
we are hiring.
So you can hit Chantal later if you think that's an industry that interests you. Let's go with you, Gabrielito.
Well, hello. I am mostly just a fan of Chantal's hair and of Pablo's beard.
Do we need a combo? Should someone needs to Photoshop that?
Mash up. Can I get the beard?
Please make it happen.
Here,
I want the hair too.
If I just do this, is this enough? Is this
yes.
close?
There you go. looking good.
So-
Gabriel, tell us a little bit about you. You're working at Jigsaw. What the hell is Jigsaw, man?
Yeah, Jigsaw is an Alphabet unit that focuses on communities at risk and tries to come up with technology solutions for those communities. So we end up working a lot with, let's say, activists or journalists in developing countries and giving them tools to get their information out there and fight things like censorship or online harassment, things of that nature. So yeah, I've been doing that for a little bit now, and but mostly I just admire each other's hair.
Yeah, you guys work in really really important industries. Like you guys are doing like really important stuff. That I admire that. That's really cool. Now, Yasmine, tell us a little bit about you. Yasmine is popular. I don't know if you knew it, but she has a TV show.
It's a YouTube.
Or you said
show.
a YouTube show.
I mean, you could stream it to your TV. Yeah, so I'm a design advocate at Google, and essentially what it boils down to what we do. We do a lot of stuff, but we help external designers build on Google's Android web using Material Assistant, AR, VR, anything. We kind of want to make better designers. So that's a little bit of what we do. We do that through a lot of things, either content creation. As Pablo mentioned, I do have a show. Go check it out at Google Design YouTube, and it's called Centered. So we just released our first episode, and we'll be releasing another one this month, which should be really exciting, and then in the coming months as well. Yeah, that's just a little bit about me. We come from a UX designer and product manager by trade, and actually started doing front-end dev. So that's actually how I got into tech.
Man, you do it all.
Do it all. And you should watch the show, by the way. It's pretty cool, pretty interesting. It's just like really tough challenges and how they're using human-centered design to solve those challenges. It's pretty interesting. It's just like I don't know. I feel like that's such a great idea. I get a little bit jealous that why didn't we have that idea? We should have done that.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was a year in the making. It was great.
Yeah, it's great. And how like is it every month you release a new episode, or how is it?
Yeah, so it's split up into seasons. Right now, we're in the first season. We have a couple of episodes lined up, and we release every month. And then we're going to have to take a break because it does take a bit of time to actually go and record them, and then kicking off the second season at the beginning of next year. So yeah, we're just getting started. We're really excited.
Awesome. So today we're going to be talking about transitioning to product design, and I wonder if there's any people, Edgar, if they're asking questions about that, like you can ask us some questions about like if you are transitioning from a specific career, or like any tips, like just leave it on the chat and we'll try to answer those questions. But let's start with you, Chantal. I don't know, like it's really interesting that you are coming from psychology and then now you're working in construction and working on solving problems through design. Like how has that transition been for you?
It's been really interesting. Yeah. So going back even farther, I actually started making my own websites when I was a kid in elementary school. So I kind of had like a little bit of a technical background there. And at the time, I thought the only job you could have in the web was a webmaster, which I'm probably dating myself by saying that, but that was like the job you could have. So I kind of abandoned that when I got to high school, ended up going to school for psychology because I was really interested in people and how they think and how they process. And my school is kind of interesting and unique in that you do, I went to the University of Waterloo, and they do 4 months of school, 4 months of work, 4 months of school, 4 months of work. So you're constantly getting jobs. And so I looked at the job listings for psychology for first years, and I was like, oh man, these are all like lab assistant jobs. I've already done that. So I look through and I'm like, oh, that one has like HTML and CSS. I know those. I guess I'll do that job. And that was kind of like my first foray into product design. Little did I know it. So in that job, I was doing like A/B testing. I was redoing an AI. And then someone told me product design was a job. I'm like, wait, what? No one told me this before. I can do that. So I started looking more and more into applying the interest I had in what do people need, how do they think, and how can I make things easy based on how they think into the design fields.
That's dope. And when you said that you were making your website, were you using GeoCities or were you using Dreamweaver?
Oh goodness.
Or
I
was
was
it
using
MySpace? Were you making websites with MySpace?
I was using Notepad. I was old school.
What? I'm impressed.
So
Like,
grade 4 was my first one. I learned how to code HTML and CSS before I learned how to copy and paste. So I used to write it down on paper on my desk, and then from a website, and then look down and type it in into Notepad.
oh no.
Yeah.
How's that even possible?
Yeah.
I know.
How did no one teach you that?
I know. No one told me how to copy and paste. I wrote JavaScript. Can you imagine typing JavaScript in, missing commas?
Oh no.
So learned those languages real well, and yeah, it was pretty special.
The secret to getting into development is remove copy and pasting.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, yeah. And then I got into PHP and MySQL. No one told me about sanitizing inputs. Yeah, I got hacked real quick.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, that was my transition into design.
There you go. What about you,
Wow.
Gabriel? You started more in graphic design, right? Yeah, you started an agencies and doing a little bit of print design.
Yeah, hold up though. Can we talk about this costume change that just happened?
Dude, it's hot. It's hot over here. By the way, look at this shirt. So it all looks good here, right? This is the magic of framing. Look at this gigantic shirt.
Oh my goodness! If you belt that, it's like a shirt dress.
It is no, but it's an extra large actually. Because I use extra large now. That is so sad. But yeah, I like it. I like it big and just no, I don't like it when it's too tight because then it shows my moops. Is that how you say it? Moops?
Yeah, you gotta give it to the ladies, man. You gotta give them what they want.
I like it loose, so it's not very noticeable. But yeah, no, hold on. So let's just stop talking about my moops.
You brought them up.
Gabriel. Tell us about you, Gabriel. So what's up with you?
Yeah. So yeah, I went to school for graphic design. So that's art school. So I spent years drawing naked people. A lot of moves. So it was great. Yes, and the idea was to join an agency and design the next Nike swoosh and conquer the world. But as soon as I graduated, that whole industry became kind of stuffy to me, and I became really kind of enamored with the tech industry that was happening in Silicon Valley when the iPhone came out, and it just felt like they were making their own rules, and it just felt like a refreshing new take on what a job could be. So I slowly transitioned from graphic design to becoming a webmaster, to working on the first mobile apps back in 2008, 2009. Made some of the worst mobile apps on the App Store. And over time started to get more and more familiar with that world, until at some point I put in product designer as my job title.
It was you. You named yourself that. You proclaimed yourself a product designer.
For sure, yeah. In fact, I wanted to move to San Francisco so bad that I got a Google Voice number with a San Francisco area code, and I changed my address to San Francisco in LinkedIn or AngelList, one of those, and I just pretended that I lived there, and it worked.
That's so sneaky.
So
you totally preach the whole idea of fake it till you make it.
yeah, fake it till you make it for sure. Or The Secret, you visualize it and then it happens.
I'm picturing
So
your
now
LinkedIn picture with a photoshopped Golden Gate Bridge in the background.
So now at Jigsaw, you're helping people not get catfished. Is that,
Because you're an expert.
You're selling-
Because
Yeah,
of his
yeah.
internal experience, yes.
Yeah.
He knows it.
He's like,
I
I
know
know
that.
those tricks.
Now he's trying to make it all right.
I know all the tricks. Nobody can get through me.
That's good, man. That's good. What about you, Yasmine? Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about you. How is your
little bit of-
transition?
Yeah. It all started when I was first born. decided I woke up and I was like, I'll be a product designer. No.
Classic
So
first baby words.
classic first baby words. Was it mom or dad?
Your umbilical cord was in 8-pixel grid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, so I got into, my degree is actually in internet web development, but before that I was studying, like, at one point my degree was going to be in geology and then history. Like, it went through so many different things. And how I actually got into like the more tech area is I took a Flash class, and it was because I had to take like a computer class at the community college I was at. And I took this Flash class, and the instructor was like, hey, you're actually pretty good at this. Have you ever considered this as a career? And I was like, what? Like, you can do this for a living? You know, I didn't know that was possible. And so that's actually when I did some research, and like the Arizona State University had an internet and web development degree. And so then that's what I started pursuing. So I went through that route. So my training was less more in the graphic design area, but more in like the dev side of it, which then, you know, doing a lot of websites and web dev, like you're doing it all, which then kind of evolved. UX. My first like internship was actually at a product design development firm where they did a lot more of like the hardware. And so I was kind of one of the only digital people. And so that kind of evolved to doing a lot more of like the UX for some of the projects and stuff.
So it also sounds like I mean, none of us like got like an actual degree or went to product design school, right? It's just like we landed there like somehow. Like there was an interest in web, there was an interest in code, like, there was an interest in visual graphic design, and then suddenly like this became. But should there be like a school? Is it like, because it doesn't sound like you went to product design school, or did any of you?
I think there is, though. I think we're all pretty ancient, and there's been some schools that have been popped up since we graduated. Because I've heard of product design programs out there right now.
But I mean, but you didn't take that program. Would you recommend that? How would you recommend? Yes, going to that program will help you, because you are successful. I see you're successful, and you didn't need that. You think that other people need it?
I mean, I think that so the beautiful and frustrating thing about UX design is that so many people come from so many different areas. So, right, you people that are more interested in psychology, which really falls in line with what we're building, right? That's you, yeah. Or, you know, the other aspects of like actually more into like the visual design and all of that. Like, it's great because you have all these different experiences that are coming together in the industry to create like really, really thoughtful experiences. But the frustrating part is like, it actually makes it really difficult to actually get a career in this, because if you go to this 4-year, you know, college, or if you do this program, like you're automatically going to be this awesome UX designer or product designer or whatever you want to call it, which it can be really hard when you're first trying to get in, because the field, no one really defines it. It's almost like you have to do it all. And so it's hard to understand whether you should be focusing more on the visual side, because the companies around you are looking for a more visual type designer that does the UI and UX and all of that, or someone that should be focusing more on the code side because they actually want you to build it. I don't know. It's kind of this, I guess I went through that a bit, where it was kind of this hard process of kind of like, when I'm trying to get hired, but what is it that you're looking for?
Got it.
I would almost, I agree and also disagree at the same time, which is great because yours was like the beauty and the downside.
Yeah,
so it's all yin yang. But thinking back to my education, I think one of the best parts of it was just getting an opportunity to work a ton of different jobs, since it was every once we got the chance. We have an awesome design intern at PlanGrid. Well, we have 2 awesome design interns at PlanGrid, but one of them changes his mind almost every day what career he wants to pursue. So he's a designer right now and he's rocking it, but he's like, maybe a data scientist, maybe a PM. And every one-on-one, it's like, what are you thinking you want to do? And he's like, I think maybe this, So I think there's a lot of different kinds of paths can lead you to it, but figuring out if product design is for you, or if like what you should focus on, you really learn that at the job. And any program that lets you have the opportunity to try that job a bunch of times, different places, I think is more beneficial than almost any classes you can take.
Yeah, for sure. I think the hard part is, how do you get your foot in the door? That's like the hard part, right? Because everyone, even if the quote unquote junior UX designers positions, it's still, you have to have like a couple years experience. And it's just like this really hard thing where a lot of people aren't giving you those experiences, and there isn't this quote unquote formal education that leads you to this. So it's like, how do you even get started?
Yeah, sorry, just for context, like the way you get work at my school is the school helps arrange it.
Oh, that's cool.
So every 4 months, there's like a database of jobs, like over thousands and thousands. You just apply to, and then you have your job kind of lined up. You have to interview and stuff. Like, it's still a competitive process, but like it's called Job Mine. You just kind of go on and get your job on there. So it kind of helps you to do that foot in the door kind of aspect.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
so hold on. So to be hired as a junior designer, you need 2 years of experience as a junior. Like what is below being a, like, where were you before being a junior designer? Like, were you just like a
fetus?
What are those 2 years of experience?
You were Yasmine saying, I want to be a product designer when I grow up. Yeah. But no, that's like, I think the reality of the design industry. If you look a lot of the job applications, like even if they are entry level positions, it's all have experience. And landing, I think those internships can be pretty difficult. So yeah, I agree with you. Like, you really learn on the job, but how do we make it easier for people to get their foot in the door so that they can learn on the job?
I suppose, like, how do you make it easier for people that have that curiosity and that are also like moving from a different industry and want to get in here? But now, since the industry, I suppose, like, it's a little bit more established. Like, now there's this idea that you have to have that experience. And so then, with that, is that building walls against people that are coming from different fields and are just like Chantal, that are coming from, that didn't have 2 years of experience as a product designer, but she had that curiosity, and she had that enthusiasm of like getting into it and found it interested. So like, we are like almost like blocking ourselves from those amazing people like Chantal. Like, is that happening, you think? Or what is it? Are the programs there saying like, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're allowing people to have, that are curious enough and that want to pursue this thing, and we're going to give them an opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, I think the model that's really interesting to me, and Chantal, you kind of mentioned that your school did this, which I thought was great, but it's the idea of like, Center, the school that Jared Spool, among others, UX practitioners are kind of leading the initiative, where they do teach you a lot of like the methodologies and, doing all that stuff, but as well as actually getting you experience within the industry. Because I think that's super valuable. And I think that model of actually putting things into practice, so that it's not so much just like from a theoretical standpoint, but actually from an experience, really beneficial. But I mean, I think that, I don't know if I don't think that should be the only way to get into product design or UX design. I think that's just the way, I mean, but most jobs as well, right? Like, your degree is just one of the ways to get your foot in the door. A lot of people just start doing it, especially within the design field. They just started doing it because they saw maybe Pablo's, live streams and like tried to follow along. So that's kind of the beauty of it too. You can kind of self-teach.
You think anyone can become a designer?
I believe that everyone is a designer, but that's a topic for another discussion. That doesn't necessarily, anyways, we won't get into that, but
no, I think I agree with you in a sense, where it's like anyone can be a designer, or anyone is a designer if they have a decision, or yeah, tell us, like, if they have a point of decision in the process of building something, I suppose. Is that where it's coming from?
I mean, I think it's more of like, regardless of where you are, if you're helping build a product, whether you are an engineer that's, a front-end engineer, and you are making sure that animations and transitions flow nicely, like, if you mess that up, you're going to impact the user's experience, because they're going to like feel like this app is going too slow or it's not operating properly. So I believe that everyone that touches the product or even has some say in it is in part influencing the design. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're the ones that are responsible for like the ultimate design. Like I think that also falls on like the designer, right, to ensure that you're creating this experience that is great. But I do believe that everyone does impact the design.
Okay, and now can anyone become a designer that has a title? Not just that touches a part of the product, but actually like a designer. Do you think anyone? Because I hear some people that say like, no, you need talent, or you need to a specific type of mind. Is that true? What is it? What is it that is required to be a designer? No.
I mean, I guess I would say like a collaborative mindset. To be a product designer, like you need to feel comfortable bringing a lot of people into your process. You need to feel comfortable like taking other people's ideas in, doing group sketching, not necessarily being the one with the answer. And I feel like the best designers are the ones who kind of have that facilitation angling to their work.
Agreed. I think just be a great collaborator. At least people will continue wanting to work with you in that sense, even if your design sucks. So I guess that's a good first step. I mean, I'm interested to hear what everyone else in that, but the collaborative piece, being able to kind of work, you got to be able to work well together, is because design doesn't exist in a chamber, right? Like it's not like this thing that you can be by yourself designing and then just be like, here's this beautiful thing, go build it, so being able to work with everyone else, I think, is equally important, as well as part of product design, UX design is getting a lot of that feedback from your user. So being able to have kind of good communication skills with them is important. I think it's someone I think there is some critical thinking. Like I think at the end of the day, as a designer, your job is to solve problems, and those may manifest themselves in different ways. So being a good problem solver, I would say.
True.
Gabrielle, what do you think? You're so quiet.
Yeah, man. Come on.
Yeah,
share.
I know. I think it's just hard to say to exclude anybody from pursuing the profession, right? Like anybody, if they want to, they can probably be a designer. I've met some really good designers who are not good team players, who are kind of lone wolves, and I've met really good designers who are team players. I think that if we're talking about UX design within a team, that's a very kind of narrow definition of the word design. There are many of designers that work in different industries that don't require the same workflows that we're used to. But for our industry in UX, I think over time, the job kind of beats you and teaches you that the only way to move forward is by being a good team player and by letting go of your ideas and iterating as a team, as opposed to this idea of the lone artist that goes away into a room for 2 days and comes back with the right answer. I think that the job has a way of kind of molding you into that person, no matter what your background is.
Mm.
And are there other types of designers where that works, where being the lone wolf works? Like as a freelancer, or like someone that works specifically in graphic design, or?
Yeah, I mean, so maybe we can define what we mean by UX, right? UX is a bunch of different things, and I can think of, let's say, brand design as something you can do pretty individually. And there's stories of Paul Rand, a really famous brand designer. He designed the Next logo for Steve Jobs back in the day, and the story, I don't know if it's a myth or not, but the story is that he met with Steve Jobs and he said, okay, the logo will cost you $1 million, and we'll come back 3 months later or whatever, and I'll give you one option, and that's it. And he did. And like that is the in school you fantasize that idea of like, yes, like I know best, and then the clients will succumb to me. So I'd imagine he just goes into whatever his process is, comes back, and he's like, here you go, here's the best logo you could possibly ask for. And that's a very different process than what we're used to in product design, right? So I imagine there are other kind of arms of design that have a different process.
Yeah, there's something you said there that's like really interesting. Like, and you come from a design school background, so maybe you can comment on this too. Like, I have other friends who came from like traditional art kind of backgrounds, and they always tell stories about how their professor would kind of walk through and just like rip some pieces off the wall and go, "That's trash," or "What did you even do?" And just like this like hyper aggressive style of critique. Whereas when you come into product design, UX design, critique is not like that usually in a like safe, psychologically safe work environment. Usually it's a little bit more like, "Hey, I see you did this. Tell me more about your thinking. What were you exploring there? What problems were you solving? What constraints were you working with? Like, let's like solve this problem together." It's a very a different approach. Chin, when you were saying like different kinds of design, and I thought that came to mind, and I was like, man, can those even be called like the same like industry almost, because they're so different?
It's not a day. I have memories of designing, like my professor telling me you need to do 100 logos, and I spent like hours coming up with 100 logos or whatever it is, then showing it to him, and he's just like, okay, do it again.
Oh my goodness.
And I think
you go to art school.
Well, I think that comes from this kind of unspoken rule that in the art world, an artist knows best, right? And this dynamic between artist and its audience is very different between a designer and its users. Like an artist has a background and a perspective that is unique, and that is what makes their work valuable. Whereas the designer's perspective is almost useless. A designer is a facilitator. They visualize ideas, and then they present them to a crowd of users, and they decide what's better. And that's a very different distinction from, I'm an artist, I know best, and if you don't agree, then you don't understand me.
Those are called creative directors. I'm just teasing to all my creative directors out there. I'm just kidding.
How did you like go about making that tradition for yourself when you were going from graphic design?
Well, I think I have a slightly different perspective on art. I think that art is meaningless unless it ignites a conversation with its audience, and unless if you create whatever piece of art, if it's not complete until it interacts with its audience. And I know a lot of people disagree with that perspective. So I think maybe that makes me a bit unique in the sense that I was already kind of craving that interaction between creating something and showing it to a bunch of users or some sort of audience for that. So it was a natural kind of transition for me into creating products that people use, and by using the products that I made, that was my interaction with an audience, and that was my opportunity to find ways to like delight people and influence behavior and things like that, things that you dream of as an artist. I think that was kind of what I gravitated towards.
Okay, so we're going to move on to another section, and another section with news. News that happened this week, and hopefully every show there are news good enough for us to share. Let me share here my screen, because that's the way that I do it. This is I am present to everyone. You see the infinite loop there?
Indeed.
That's it. That's the news.
Oh my gosh.
So in the news, hold on, we need some music for news, man.
You have to sing it, Pablo.
Oh yeah. Apparently we have cumbia for the news. There you go. So okay, so Simplice, new logo. This is I don't know if you use Simplice. Boom. Simplice is it's like a WordPress site builder, almost a little bit like a Squarespace, and it's by Tobias Van Schneider, and they just changed their logo, and actually this was designed by Mackie Saturday. So I want you to just see the before and after, and just like I see the after, and it's pretty good. It's beautiful. But I see the before, and I never noticed the actual logo before, and I see it as like, oh my god, what was going on? But I don't know if it is because the after is so good, and then you compare it and you realize like, oh man, the one before was like, there was some weird things going on there. It almost looked like it was designed by Napoleon Dynamite. But the new one, it's beautiful. So yeah, so you can see the new branding. It's pretty much just like the same stuff. They just changed the logo. So this was designed by Macu Saturday, and it's pretty good. Also, Keyframes, which is a new site by Pascal. I don't remember his last name, and it's like a community for animators. And so I invite you to. Oh, apparently. See, there's some stuff that is mine too, but it's just like different animators just sharing their stuff and just like discussing and sharing tips. It's a pretty cool community. You should check it out. Also, dark patterns. I was reading about dark patterns. Like they're so in today, right? Talk about this stuff. And it's apparently Amazon. Somebody got me mad at Amazon because they wouldn't be able to put a review unless it was more than 4 stars. So check out those dark patterns. And also Framer just released Framer X. I don't know if you noticed this new tool. It's promising bridging the gap between the developer and the designer a little bit closer. They have like everything that you design in it is actually on React, which is it's good. It's almost like where you're going to be designing is not just an image; it's actually can be used in implementation. So check it out too for those lucky enough to have an invite, because right now it's just an invite only beta. And also MailChimp released a new game called Post Haste, and it's pretty much like Paperboy. I don't know if you played. I don't know if you're old enough that you actually played Paperboy on Nintendo. That was one of the most frustrating games ever on Nintendo. But they actually made it, and this one is not as frustrating, and it's actually pretty cool. And the artwork is amazing. And I don't know what is the actual intent from this game. It's just a really cool game. I don't know what they're gaining from it. It's just they made something for everyone, and it's pretty cool. And that's it. That's it on on the news. What do you guys think?
Good. Fun fact, if you're an SF and you go to like Brewcade, they have the original Paperboy game, if I remember correctly. I think I played it there.
I will have
Hold on,
to add
where?
it to my list.
Yeah, they have like an arcade, like a console of it or something. I think I played it like somewhere in SF, that game.
Brewcade.
Hold on, Paperboy was an arcade? I thought it was Nintendo.
I think it's a Nintendo, but they like ported it to a console, so you can play like the Michael Jackson game where you have to like dance to fight the villains and
Ooh,
stuff.
I used to love that game.
Yeah, which is super weird because you're like saving children's and you're dancing to do it.
I don't think I realized I was saving children. Is that?
Yeah, they just kind of stay in the corner while you dance off.
Oh, right. And then they kind of like run off.
Yeah.
That
I hope
for my
that's-
memory.
I hope that's MailChimp's next new game. Is the new adaptation is like a dancing monkey or something.
They do a lot of marketing stuff that is just like they do like fail chips, and it's just chips, like potato chips that are all the broken potato chips, and that's all they give you, like at the back of broken potato chips, because usually the broken potato chips are the ones in the bottom and the ones that you will eat them like this if you are like me, if you're a disgusting person. But then they just release it as a bag with just fail chips, and apparently because they know all these words that people write wrong when they try to write mailchimp.com, and they will write something wrong, and then they will take actually that domain and they'll make a product from those fake, like those domains that did not work. And apparently Mailchimp was one of them.
Amazing.
That's so awesome.
It's a good way to get people's attentions. Now we're going to move on to questions from the audience. because people are asking questions on the chat. And let's begin with the first question. Edgar.
All right, so my boy Titania, I'm sorry if I slaughtered your name, asked a handful of questions.
Okay.
So I'm gonna present to you what he asked, and then we'll move on from there. So the question was, what advice do you have for designers who are self-taught transitioning from graphic to product design? And then after having a little bit of experience, what's the best way to get your foot in the door since it's so difficult?
Hold on. So what is the first question?
The first question is, what advice do you have for self-taught graphic designers who want to go into product design? And after getting a little bit of exposure, how do you actually move towards getting your foot in the door?
Do you guys get that?
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing that I guess I'm starting. I was already on it. Yeah, I guess for me, the thing I've seen a lot of portfolios, especially with more like junior candidates, is a real focus on tools. And so I'll see someone who's like, I'm learning Figma, and I also know Sketch, and I also know Framer, and I also know this. And I have to say, in my day-to-day job, I think I use like Sketch, and sometimes I open up Principle or something. But like knowing all the tools doesn't make you a better designer. Like knowing your tool, definitely, like know your stuff. But knowing every tool doesn't put you in a better position. So focusing more on the more junior you are, focusing more on mindset, focusing more on techniques, and getting that kind of general knowledge before you focus on like the of all the different tools, I think is my advice.
And do you think that people are caring too much about tools because people are just talking about that? And they think, okay, well, I suppose I'll be, because there is an explosion of different tools out there, right? That it's just like every week there will be something new. I mean, right in the news, we just saw a new tool. So is it because of that, or why?
I guess I can only guess. Yeah, I think there is a lot of chatter on tools and which one's the best tool and what's the best workflow and stuff like that. Tools are kind of shiny. There's definitely like cult followings around certain tools or this tool or that tool. And I also think in some ways they're a little bit more accessible. Like some of the techniques, they take a lot of understanding and learning, and it takes a long time. And Sketch and that kind of stuff, like once you kind of read a tutorial, you know that skill and you can kind of check it off. So I think there's a lot more, it feels a little bit nicer, but it's hard to check off like UX as a skill. It's like it's a continual growing process, whereas there's a finite amount of tool to learn. Unless you're learning Photoshop, then it's infinite. You will never stop.
Could tools actually help you though? Could tools actually like not just help you obviously to get the job done, but actually be more creative and think things in a different way? Like probably do you think like opening and learning a new tool can actually make you think, oh, now I'm going to think about animation too, because like I'm opening Principle, or I'm opening I don't know, Flinto, and now that stuff that was not in my head, like this tool it's encouraging me to think in that way too.
I mean, totally. Like knowing tools is important. I would definitely say that. But for someone who's brand new, I don't know if it's the most important thing is knowing the most tools. Maybe once you have a bit more experience and you want to stretch your mind a little bit more, but not as a focus for someone who's like just starting out.
What about you, Gabriel? I think the question was really focused about graphic design. So you coming from graphic design, what do you think?
Yeah, I got a hashtag for my answer. You ready?
Ooh.
Yeah, it's gonna be hashtag chase the tea.
Like green tea, black tea.
No, let me explain.
Be a tea level or a tea designer. What is it?
Yeah, so I think the thing that I find people struggle with the most is that they try to do too much when they're junior designers. They try to spread themselves really thin. They're like, I can code and I can do this and I can do an icon, I can do that. And this is something that I'm still working on today, is becoming a T-shaped designer. And what I mean by that is somebody who's like competent at many things, but really good at one thing. And that's kind of like the bottom of the T, right? So as a junior designer, the hardest thing, at least for me and the people that I've met, is finding that one thing that they're really good at. And my advice for them would be just choose one at random and pursue that. And then if that's not it, then change to another one and try that. And because as a junior designer, the one thing that you have that nobody else has is time. So you have a lot of time to try out a bunch of different stuff and find the one thing that you're really passionate about. But as you're presenting yourself in the portfolio and you're trying to craft a story behind who you are and why somebody might want to hire you, it should be clear what that bottom part of the T is for you. And I would focus on that, finding that thing that you are really excited or really good at.
Yeah, here.
What is your T? What is the thing that you're really good at, Edgar? What do you find? What are you finding now?
You said Edgar, so I think Edgar needs to answer.
Oh, sorry, Gabriel. You too, Edgar. Ooh,
I'm still finding out. I think it's not an easy thing to do. I like to start projects from scratch and get people behind an idea. So getting momentum behind ideas and kickstarting projects, I think, is something that I don't know if I'm good at it, but I really like doing it.
Could it be that some designers actually can do two things that are probably not one thing that are the best, but 2 or 3 things that are really good, they're becoming good at, and actually a combination of different things, and it's just instead of just focusing on one. Can that? I mean, it looks like that's the kind of stuff that has worked for you, Gabriel. So right. So then why? And it has worked for me too. I think I'm not great at anything, but I'm able to do a lot of different things.
Stop.
Yeah, no way. No.
Yeah, you
I'm not
can't pull that
confident
one.
about
You
it.
can't pull that one.
Wait,
No,
I mean,
but
it's
what
very
I'm saying
clear
is
when people
I try
think
to do a lot of stuff, but it's because of that curiosity and that idea that I want to do a lot of things, and it's okay if I don't. I'm not the best at all of them, but it's just like I don't know. Like I want to disagree with what you're saying. I want people to be curious. I want to try many things and not worry about becoming
you're
the
like
best
an
at
M.
one.
You're an M-shaped designer.
Exactly.
Down in many ways.
Exactly.
No, I think you should try many things. And as a junior designer, you have the time to try those things. Just try them one at a time.
I see.
Because
But
think about it.
The whole idea also combining different skills and creating something new sometimes.
With time, organically, but I think you need to think about it from the hiring manager perspective. Very rarely do you want to hire a junior designer that's great at everything, right? A team usually is made up of different skills, and each skill should be complementary of each other. And when you hire somebody new, there's a hole in the team that needs to be filled by a new person, right? And that hole usually comes in the shape of somebody who's really good at prototyping, or somebody who's really good at design systems or visuals or whatever. And I think that's where junior designers can shine, right? Somebody who's really good at visuals but needs some help with prototyping or with another part of the job. And that to me seems like a more feasible way to approach it, as opposed to like, hi, I'm a junior designer, I'm good at everything, but I don't have a portfolio to show that's the case,
Yeah.
So then you have
to it's like Pokemon. You have to catch the right Pokemon to beat the next gym. You got to focus on what you need to do next.
I love that you made a Pokemon reference. That is great.
All the people that are like younger than us are like, what's what?
They're bringing it back.
Oh
They're
yeah,
bringing it back.
yeah. Edgar, do we have more questions?
Yeah, we actually have.
Come over here.
A very good.
Yeah,
question.
people need to see you actually. Yeah. So Edgar is here helping with the sounds and all that stuff. Ooh.
Is he also wearing the suit?
Come over here.
Got the jacket on now. That's the one that Pablo
Yeah.
wears.
Alex Valdivia. I don't know if anyone may know him.
Sounds familiar.
You just, maybe resembles someone in here, but he actually has a really solid question. When starting in design, how would someone learn to solve problems at a deeper level other than just following tutorials? What exercises did you follow to achieve a strong mindset and foundation? Since I got up, I can't play the hammer.
Oh no.
There you go. So are there any
Sorry, can you
exercises? How do you get better at solving like problems in a deeper way? Yeah, is that how it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, really, it kind of boils down. I'm going to go back to a human-centered design process, right? Because that is actually what makes you a really good problem solver. So you start off with the user, like who is the actual person that you're solving this problem for. And you really, through research, try to get to know more about the person, as well as like what are the needs that they actually have. And so identifying that, so it's kind of like, what's the challenge? When you're building your portfolio, you can't just show something pretty. You have to kind of show your thought process between all of that. All right, so you have like your challenge and your research, and you really find that need. And then you start to ideate, so creating a lot of different ideas and kind of testing those, actually putting those in front of the user. And then through that, kind of coming up with what is your, I don't want to say final design, because of course design is never done, but the design at least that you're feeling pretty comfortable to get out there into the world and through your user. And then you actually kind of iterate based on that. So I think that that's a good process to kind of really start thinking besides just the visuals and the things that look pretty, is just really kind of focusing on what is it that you're solving, what is it the problem that you're trying to solve, and then your process on how you actually did that.
And there are some resources actually that they can follow, right? That they can download at Google with this Design with Google or something like that.
I think it's oh my gosh, I should know this. My manager's going to be like, why don't you know our URL? designsprintKit.withgoogle.com. So again, that's designsprintKit.withgoogle.com is a really good resource that has a lot of methodologies that kind of can walk you through on how to actually run a design sprint and think through that. That's a good way. And hey, I'll give another shout out to the show. If you follow along the Centered Show, you can actually, that's really how we kind of put every episode of the story we're telling is really focused on the user. So we kind of set up with like, what are we trying to solve for the user and how they actually went about and to achieve that. And you can actually learn in the process. So, I mean, a lot of it just comes from getting actually doing it, which is really hard, but hopefully other designers sharing their stories on how they, not so much just even the final design, but how they got to the final design, I think is really valuable.
If I can interject, I think, there's probably two ways in which you can get to a solution. I think one, if you're intimately familiar with the problem, if it's something that affects you, then you develop an intuition for what the solution might be. So I would say follow that intuition if you have it. If you don't have it, and you're working on a project or a problem that is foreign to you, I think the key is to close the loop as quickly as possible between an idea and validation of that idea. And that's what the design sprint does so well, is that it makes that cycle of thinking of something and validating that thing as quickly as possible. But I think in general, just avoid the thinking that you will come up with a good solution. Really, like it's just, you want to be prolific and generative. So come up with as many solutions as possible and close the loop on validating those solutions with people that are intimately familiar with the problem that you're working on.
Okay, we have one more question. What is the question?
So, is there any good framework for reasoning or communicating design decisions, and how may you improve or communicate them?
I would ask, to whom are we communicating?
Again?
To whom are we communicating?
The person that has the
stakeholders.
To stakeholders. People that make the decisions. People
that hold the
final
stakes.
decisions. How do you communicate?
Let me put some context. One of the questions were, what is like very important characteristics in product designers? And I said soft skills is actually one that I believe is huge. Making something great is a piece of what we do, but if we can't defend those decisions, sometimes I've seen really good design go out of the window because the designer themselves can't explain why they did that. And sometimes you're in a room with people who kind of have big voices or big personalities, and you get overwhelmed and like you don't know how to communicate with people, that like you kind of just clam up. So when I was talking about soft skills being important and learning how to sell and learning how to communicate, that was a question that came up.
I see.
How do you convince people? How do you sell your idea? How do you get everyone to say yes, thumbs up, or
one thing that comes to mind for me is like, hopefully, especially your stakeholders, ideally they're in the process with you. Like one of my favorite things to do is do as many sketching sessions with people that I'm actually working with that are signing off on this. So we have the PM in the room, we have the QAs, we have the engineers, and we're all, here's the user, here's their problem, here are constraints. Let's just sketch, let's do the crazy eights, let's work on it together. And then you have a lot less pushback and a lot less selling to do because we all kind of are there too, especially when engineers are in QA and everyone is sitting in the research sessions, watching the user go through stuff.
The crazy eight is a dance move that you do, right?
It is. While I fold the paper, you know. Yeah, so that's a good call out. Actually, yeah. Crazy.
Oh my gosh, we need to create a UX design moves. Sorry.
Yeah. So for anyone who hasn't done it before, the crazy eights is a sketching technique where you're folding into fours and you're trying to eights, and you're trying to come up with as many ideas as you can in a certain amount of time. So it's a really interesting and kind of demonstrative way of going about design in a group. So in those kind of contexts, when you're able to bring those stakeholders in, you don't have to do as much selling because they get why you're doing it.
Yeah, and I think also the crazy eights is personal, right? You don't share the crazy eights. It's more like a practice that you do before you actually put together a storyboard or something like, right? Or do you share the crazy eights too?
Yeah, the way we've done I don't follow the exact like regimented style of doing it, but the way we've done it is like crazy fours or crazy eights. We fold it and then we pick a couple of our favorites and we kind of talk through those. We give a quick round of feedback, and then if we have time, we do a second round of sketching to kind of build off each other's and see how much we converge before then the designer kind of gets a stack of papers, and kind of that's when they do their scurry off and come back with like wireframes. They're like, hey, based on all your ideas, here's what I've produced. what feedback do we have?
This allows also, like what Edgar was saying, that the louder voice is not going to be driving the conversation in the meeting, right? Because it's a little bit more democratic, as you were saying. You put it on the board, then people vote or give their feedback, but it's not going to be one person just like loudly just stating their opinion, right? And this brings everyone together. Also, like what you mentioned in the beginning too, it's interesting that you involve people in the early process. Is the opposite of what Gabriel was describing with the artist that goes away and then comes back with an idea. If you do that, just like suddenly everyone will be just a surprise. What the hell is this, right? Who made this decision? Why are we doing this? And that's the worst thing that can happen in a meeting room, when suddenly you present something that you think is the best design ever, but nobody knows about it. And if you didn't involve them in the beginning, if you didn't like get them to be part of those decisions, then you're toast.
I got one question. The bringing it back to like, you might have a really good design, but then someone else that's louder in the room. Is this like a story of like two designers working on separate different things, like separate different solutions, and then presenting it to the stakeholders? Like, I'm just trying to better understand, I guess, why those two designers are not working together.
Oh no, I don't think it's two designers. It's usually like probably other people that are
just more like the idea, the like initial ideas or something. Is that? I guess I was more speaking to if like if you have. There's definitely like the part of like when you are presenting to a stakeholder that has to make the decisions of like really setting up the story of like, design. If the question is more of like if you're fighting with another designer or something on a design you're presenting, my question to you is like, why aren't you all working together to come to that? Like, we got to solve something else here. But
it's like designer Highlander, there can only be one.
Yeah. Yeah, because
we should all think alike.
Get voted off the island. Yeah, my favorite. Yeah.
Which designer gets the rose?
No, but it is actually something that happens sometimes, where some designers will be working in different teams, right? And then working in different projects, and then they're like now that I'm thinking about it, that has happened, where I will be in a presentation and someone, a designer that is not particularly know about the project, they will have different opinions and they will have different kinds of views. And I think it's a little bit of also like, how do you take feedback, and how do you gather that information and just like come back and just like try again. This is one of those things that I think you just get better at. Just the act of speaking and just like selling your idea, not selling your idea, but also just like presenting the solution that everyone came up with. It's something also that you need to practice a lot, and you need to get in those moments that are a little bit uncomfortable, and where you have to be the one defending that solution. So I don't know. Sometimes for that specific, it's just practice, I think.
I think want to give some really quick is just saying that I know there's a lot of pressure to like have the answer for everything on when the design, and while you should definitely be thinking a lot of these questions, so that you don't get yourself in a position where you have to be like, oh crap, I just wasn't thinking, and now like my design did solve for this, but I just wasn't thinking. It's okay to say, I don't know the answer to that. Let me get back to you on that. And so then that at least gives you that time to just be like, hey, that's a really good thing you brought up. Let me think about it sometime and then get back to you, so that you're not getting so defensive, and then that tune you end up changing the direction, although maybe your direction was fine and was going to solve for it, but you just couldn't think of the answer.
Or just say, let's take that offline.
Or let's user test that.
There you go. Yeah. And don't do anything.
Sorry, Gabriel, I know you wanted to say something.
No, it's very similar to what you were saying. I think you should avoid defending your work as much as possible. Like the moment you find yourself defending it, it's because you feel that it's being attacked, and I think that's just not a great dynamic. I think the best way to prove that an idea is bad is to design it and to make it and to show it, right? So if somebody else in the room has a different idea, I think it's a designer's job to visualize that idea and take that feedback and say, okay, yes, let's design that. And now we talk about both ideas as, physical things that we can react to. And if there isn't consensus in the room, again, the problems that you're solving are likely not for the people in that room. So you let the people who are intimately familiar with that problem actually come up with a better solution.
I see. I think that's really puts you in a really tough spot, because people tend to gravitate to like what they thought their idea. Like if someone stakeholder is like, I want to do this, and you're like, that's a shitty idea. Sorry, there's a terrible idea, and then you design it, and then they end up going for it. Then now that design is out in the wild. Like I feel like we as designers have a responsibility to point out why that's like not a good decision to move forward with. Like, and you can definitely like create maybe wireframes or things to kind of like test it out. But I think that presenting it, like spending all that time and effort just to be like, I'm going to prove you wrong, I feel like is like kind of a bad use of your time. But that's
like the easy part, right? That's like the designer nirvana, is where you just like in Sketch or Figma, whatever. Oh, in InVision
Studio, yo.
Yeah. If you're like whatever your tool of choice is, and like you're just designing away, that's the easy part. To me, that's the fun part that I could do for hours. And hopefully there are some checks and balances in your process where, if you visualize a bad idea, you test it either internally or externally before it goes out to users. I feel that, being prolific and visualizing as many ideas as possible is the fun part, and also helps with the not fun part, which is arguing in a meeting room about abstract things.
I would posit that the hopefully you don't get to a point where you're arguing like two opinions versus opinions. Ideally, like a well set up team has some kind of principles for their product, or principles for the feature, or something that they can point to. Because a lot of the times when it comes to different design decisions, both are equally valid solutions in a certain context, and it kind of depends, what are you aiming for that product, for that feature, for that persona, whatever have you. So I would say if someone's in a position where they find themselves like doing this, like in a meeting, everyone's got different opinions and stuff, like that might be a sign that the team or the product needs some principles that are above everyone, that we can all collaboratively came up with, everyone agrees on, that we can go point to. I think that helps solve a lot of battles ahead of time, which is always nice.
And one of my gems, and this is going to be bad. Sometimes
A bad gem.
I'll go design solutions that I disagreed with to let it break.
Yeah, me too.
It's so passive aggressive though.
Yeah.
Look, I made it and it didn't work.
No, it's not that. It's that sometimes, like, so one thing that we say at my job is like, we don't pay you to output work, we pay you for your brain. However, like people who make decisions, we're all very opinionated. We're all very strong personalities. And sometimes, like, I've been in a room where I'm like, I'm just going to make this thing. Like, I know through years of experience that this isn't going to work, but like there's no solution towards that. So I'll make it, like, and I don't necessarily make it bad, but I'll make it. And the next time we meet, it's all a framing problem for me. I'll be like, so the last time we met, like you guys said you wanted to see this. So this is what that looks like. And now when I explored that, this is what I came to because of these things. So like I show it, I framed it. It didn't quite work, did it? And then like, let me tell you why this would work in a like
Totally.
way. And then people are like, oh,
Yeah.
and it goes back to Gabriel's point where like you're not necessarily defending your idea anymore. You're just selling it at this point as a solution, and like that tension is now removed.
The opposite has happened to me, by the way. I will like go and just like design it, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna fail, and it actually works. And then I am like, oh crap, I was wrong. And you know what? Next time I'm going to hear other people's opinions, and I'm going to like actually not think that my opinion is the most valid one, because it was actually really infuriating that I would go and what my CEO would say. He was right, and oh my god, and I had a totally different idea, and then he was right, and now I realized like I gotta listen more, you know, and I gotta and probably build on top of their ideas, you know.
Maybe you could have had a sketching session with him.
There we go. That's a great.
Yeah.
Do the
Maybe you
crazy
could have a
eights.
sketch together.
Sketch together.
Wait. Do the eights. Do the crazy eights.
Okay, so we're gonna end it with that.
On that note.
Oh, I just stopped it.
We gotta end it with that. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for like lending your time to do this and just like sharing your opinions. I think we got a lot of people, right? How many people we got? Like 50 something at the same time. It's okay for the first one. This is going to record it, so more
50,000 people. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's
million people.
50
Billions,
people.
trillions.
Yes, that's what I meant. No, well, I mean, put 50 people in front of you. It's a good crowd. Anyway, I want to thank you again. I want to thank everyone that is here and asking questions. And we're gonna be doing this every week. Hopefully, you join us. And that's it.
So, quick question.
Oh,
Someone
another
asked
question.
You to plug Yasmine's show because they wanted the Google resources.
So
Oh yeah. So please, Yasmine, tell us all about
the center. The URL for the center show is yt.be/centered. .be/centered. If you follow me, I think my Twitter is on there, right? Like if you go on Twitter, I'll tweet out the chat, lets you put in links.
Yeah,
YouTube chat.
I'll add those links in the description too.
Okay, cool.
Any other links that you want to share, Chantal? Something probably PlanGrid.
We're hiring. Construction's fun. Come work with me.
Your team sounds pretty amazing, actually. I think it's like y'all have your stuff together. That's awesome.
We have a lot of fun. It's a good place.
What are you, Gabriel? Where do you want people to go and click?
I have absolutely nothing to do with this website, but I think everyone should go to seehearparty.com. It's a great website for visualizing and getting music for your party. seehearparty.com.
That's awesome. I love your plug.
Do they have good music for the Crazy Eights?
So the way it works is you put in 3 nouns. Like you put in an artist and then 3 nouns, and it just loops GIFs of those 3 nouns over and over again while playing SoundCloud playlist.
That's
Your
amazing.
artist.
Is it
It's
with
amazing.
Crazy
Does it go-
eights.
Yeah, you can do that.
Who would the artist be though? Oh, it's a good one.
Pablo Stanley, obviously.
Of course.
Muy, muy.
Thank you so much. We're gonna end it there. See you next week. Oh yeah, we need music.
Goodbye, all 50 people.
That's just live. They're gonna get more.
Bye bye.